this damn TV while we record. Because if I don't
Hey guys,
TV while we record, I might get a copyright strike on Twitch. Okay, boom.
Welcome down to the
There
Bleachers,
we go.
man.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yanish.
I'm not getting a copyright strike because I muted the TV right before we went live. It was only 15 seconds. But yes,
and this
Happy
fine
New
gentleman
Year.
is Chris Ransom. So go ahead, man.
Yeah, that's William Yanish.
I was
enjoying my miscue here, folks. But we're here for Under the Bleachers. As you can tell, Penn State and Texas have advanced. Ohio State is now the third team to punch a ticket to the semifinals. Ohio State will play Texas on January 10th, which is my birthday.
Nice.
So, yeah, that'll be my 30. I'll turn 34 that day. So maybe Ohio State will score 34 on Texas.
Oh, wow.
And knowing my
Very
luck,
young.
they will find a way to lose because I was born on my mom's 35th birthday. So I'm going to go ahead and predict a 35-34 score for the Texas-Ohio State game. I don't know what direction it's going to go in. The fan in me wants Ohio State to win, but the critic in me picked Texas to win this at the start of the tournament. So, but either way, I think we're going to get a 35-34 shootout for Texas-Ohio State, regardless of who wins that, because both teams have shown they can go the distance. And I think that game's going to decide the championship with Oregon out of it now.
I like Quinn Ewers and a little bit more than Will Howard, just a touch. And he's got some great reads. He always does. He always has a right read, and I definitely see them, advancing over Ohio State. And I'm just saying that, Ohio State's got the better team.
So that's home field for Texas. That is home field for the Texas Longhorns, the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
I think the other game's the Orange Bowl, William, the other semifinal that Georgia and Notre Dame, Georgia winner, they're going to play Penn State. So
I got Notre Dame winning that one too. Brandice wouldn't like me for that one. But,
I had Texas Notre Dame at the start of this thing, William. I had Texas over Notre Dame at the start of this thing. Like when we started the 12-team bracket, because you guys both took Georgia, Oregon, I believe. I took Texas over Notre Dame. That was my upset. And there's a lot of people, but I also said whoever wins the Notre Dame Georgia game is going to beat Penn State or Boise. I picked Boise to beat Penn State. I was wrong on that. So I'm not perfect. I'm not Mr. Perfect Bracket. I do have imperfections. I picked Boise to beat Penn State. That did not happen.
Yeah.
So
and I on the bracket and stuff, it was just, once I got the visual on it, that's when I texted you that other one and posted it, saying that, Notre Dame's going to win. And, it was going to be against Oregon, though. But that was the last thing that I posted. When I got the visual, it was like...
record, but because the Georgia game got delayed and because it's convenient for William right now, we're just recording tonight. So, yeah.
Regular time, guys. No worries. Anyway, man, so what's up with Notre Dame? Tell me about that game.
The safety matchup. We talked about the safety rankings a few weeks ago. Xavier Watts and Malachi Starks. That is going to be the matchup tomorrow night to watch. And I think it's going to be a fun matchup.
And definitely everybody down in New Orleans are, in our prayers and everything else for what happened down there. And it's way shitty.
Yeah, and ESPN refused to call it a terrorist attack. Well, that's what it was.
Dude had a flag on had an Islamic flag on his truck.
Even I have enough self-awareness.
There were three places. There are 3 places a terrorist attack on New Year's Eve, and that would be New York, but that place would be guarded as hell. Las Vegas, same thing, and New Orleans. And think about it, dude. It's like they had warnings. Who predicted it? But because somebody knew, and that's crazy, man. And it's just way too bad. The guy was a walking red flag, with the freaking flag on his truck and everything else. That's like putting a beer sticker on your truck, getting pulled over. It's like, what the hell, man? I don't know, but yeah, it's just way too bad. And we're definitely in our thoughts and prayers, guys.
Yeah.
All right, man.
We hope you guys are doing better. But yes, even I have enough self-awareness to acknowledge that it was a tragedy. It was a terrorist attack. I put that in the news ticker. I hope YouTube Well, YouTube doesn't monetize my podcast anyway, even though I've met all their criteria, because some Google AdSense got pissed at me for some reason. I don't know why, but it is what it is. I'll be a champ about it. But these tech companies need to realize if they don't monetize me, I can just figure out what politicians they hate more and vote them into office. That's the game. I can make Larry Page suffer through the Trump administration if I want to. But we're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty. We're getting off topic. We're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty. He ran for 100 yards despite Abdul Carter's injury. And that's impressive. But it wasn't as otherworldly as what Cam Scabito did versus Texas today.
Oh, dude, that was crazy. And that was the one thing I thought there could be an upset there. And, dude, his draft value went through the roof today. So did his fantasy draft value. I'm not going to get him in the second round anymore.
I didn't even put Scabito in the running back rankings. Joey said he'd be a dark horse for the first round when we previewed the Big 12 at the beginning of the year. He was right. Joey was.
I've been watching him, and I'm calling like late second round on him, and that's not with a full evaluation. That's just saying, off the top of my head, what I've seen, and the kid is just good, and he's humble. He gets up there and talks and says that Arizona State changed his life, and just way humble, and he repeated himself saying that. And it's like, dude, he did well today, man, and he became a lot richer. I'll tell you that. They claim the guy runs like a 4.6 40 or something, but I've still seen him outrun people. And it's like, there's football speed and there's straight line speed. It's like Isaac Orendo from San Francisco. He supposedly runs a 4.33. He doesn't run that fast on the field. And it's one of those things. He can get away in a straight line, but his football speed is just not there. It's not 4.3. It's like 4.4. But, Kyle did what he did and drafted him and blah, blah, blah. I think maybe he should draft Scadaboo and put him out there, behind CMAC and see what happens. I would enjoy that.
Yep.
So, the kid just went off. What was that, like 240 yards overall?
He had 148 rushing yards and 99 receiving yards. So that's about 200. That's 200 total yards either way you spin it, William.
250, right there. So, that kid is good, and I thought they were going to win that game for a minute, but Ewers is what he is, and no matter what people say about him, he is a good quarterback, and I've still got him at late second round, like beginning of the third. Or beginning of the second was in my on
him, but I've got enough self-awareness to where he may get pushed up.
Yeah, mine was a second, late second, and I don't know. He's like I said, he's a good quarterback, and he's going to make a name for himself in the NFL. He's got that it factor about him.
NFL scouts are saying even though Quinn Ewers is raw, even though Jalen Milroe is raw, the potential to develop into a starter is there. Whether they reach it or not depends on the team, fit, et cetera, et cetera.
Not Cleveland or Carolina or New York.
Charlie Campbell's draft day mailbag this week on Milroe and Ewers. So
where quarterbacks go to die.
And Colton Edwards believes Will Howard's going to rise up the boards like E.J. Manuel did back in 2013. I can see it. If he deals against Ewers, if he outduels Ewers and then dominates the Senior Bowl, then we can have a conversation about him jumping up the boards. I'm not ready to have that conversation yet. I think it's
a good day today.
But if he outduels Ewers and then he dominates the Senior Bowl, then I think we can have a conversation about Will Howard in day 2 at that point. Even if Howard dominates every part of the draft process, I still don't think he's going to get picked in the first round because there is just too much overall talent on Ohio State that overshadows Howard as an individual.
Yeah. I like him.
The receivers or the running backs or the offensive lineman, Donovan Jackson, I had a first on him. He's the only healthy Ohio State lineman.
Howard needs to clean up his mechanics too.
Yep.
If I was his quarterback coach, he wouldn't have that wide base at all, and because that takes the power right out of your arm, torquing up through your hip and into your shoulder, and it's just like it takes power right out when you have that wide stance. That's one of J.J. McCarthy's problems. There's a few quarterbacks like that, but like I said, third round, and I could do something with him. Like I said, if I were his quarterback coach, because I mean, just clean up his mechanics. He's got the experience. He's got, the big game experience, and he's got all of that. And
there's some people saying Milroe might come back after losing 19-13 to Michigan. Who knows at this point?
I heard that too, and it would be great for him.
26 is looking really good. And 27, you have Dylan Raiola and DJ Lagway. They both look like number 1 QBs. And the only other freshman besides those two who started a lot was it Isaac Wilson, Zach Wilson's younger brother in Utah? I think he was the only other true freshman that started this year, but he had 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. I'm looking at him and saying he needs time to develop. I feel like if he comes out after a third year, he's going to be about as bad as his brother. Maybe he goes in day 2 like Mike Glennon, but he's about as bad as Zach Wilson was if he comes out early. If he stays in college all 4 years, I could see him being successful down the road, but it's too early to have that conversation. I feel like I feel like with Wilson, the Utah quarterback, I feel like he could be a de facto challenger. Let's say Bryce Underwood, the 5-star recruit in high school, and some of these other top high school recruits are the only good QBs in 28. And there's another guy that needs to get pushed up. Wilson, if he continues to develop, he could be that de facto guy who gets bumped up too early. But it's too early to have that conversation.
Cameron Rising got granted a 8th year of eligibility. I was like, oh, wow, dude. I'm not sure what he's going to do, but, he's a great player. He's got great heart. He was my QB1 2 years in a row, and he just liked college, I guess, kept going back, and then he screwed up his knee. Him and Brant, who were, they were both out a year and a half, and then, they should just shut him down in the middle of the season again. But
they need to make these. Well, the games are going to start at 7:30. The 2 semifinal games are going to start at 7:30 on ESPN. Kickoff's probably going to be at 8, but they're going to have like 30 minutes of pregame coverage. Honestly, they should just start the games at 7. Have the pregame show at 6. I know they are Sports Center at 6. I get it, but here's the thing. You can air Sports Center right after the game, start the pregame show at 6, and just have kickoff at 7. Most people are out of work by then. They're either at home eating dinner or they're at a bar. Just start the game at 7. No pregame for the semifinals. Or you can air the games in the afternoon like today. Because I think we're going to see a ratings boost this week for the playoff. Because all the games, you had the Arizona-Texas game at noon. You had this game at 5, Ohio State, Oregon at 5, and then you're going to have the Georgia-Notre Dame game at 4 p.m. tomorrow. I think we're going to see a ratings boost among those games because there's not a game starting at 8 or 9 p.m. when most people are about to go to bed. So I think we will see a ratings boost, William. And if we do, what that tells me is that for the quarterfinals, at least, the games need to be in the afternoon on New Year's week, because you could have a game on Monday at like 3 p.m. right before Monday Night Football, and it'd be a doubleheader, and you get more ratings. But ESPN's not willing to innovate in that respect, and they need to adapt because these afternoon games are going to get better ratings for the playoff. I'm telling you, because of the attack. It's unfortunate what happened in New Orleans, but I think the ratings are actually going to be better tomorrow versus what they would have been had they aired the game at 8 or 9 as originally.
A lot of people at home. I'm sure. So, yeah. Anyway, hey, tell me something. Do you hear that they're arresting Saquon Barkley, so he's not going to get the record? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard they're arresting him. That sucks, unfortunately. Andrew Kermish broke the news.
Wow. Anyway, not to change the subject, get off in the NFL thing, but I was wondering about that because that's crazy, man.
And then you could have Joe Schoen on the sidelines addressing Saquon before the game, and he'll say something like, Saquon, come back to the Giants. We'll play you. You can get the record for us against the Eagles. And Saquon's like, nah. F you, Joe. You said I was your best player and you didn't pay me. Dude, Joe.
That's crazy, man. Wow. Anyway,
that's probably what they'll say in the pregame exchange. But Tanner McKee's going to make his first start because remember, Hurts was in concussion protocol. Kenny Pickett got injured. So Tanner McKee, who actually played well, outplayed Pickett, going to be making his first NFL start against Drew Lock. Not to get off topic, but I am happy for Tanner McKee. That's a big accomplishment.
That dude's got a
to go from a 5th round pick to being the 4th rookie in this 2023 draft class to start 5th rookie in the 2023 draft class to start a game. Because
if you remember that 23
class, you had Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. Everybody thought Will Levis was QB4, even though everyone on my staff hated Levis and had a second, third round grade on him. Nobody on Draft Utopia thought Levis was a round 1 guy. We all disliked him equally, and I think the tape is showing why he got benched.
That was my first ever evaluation for first round mock was Will Levis. And it was, it was great, because I just ripped him for his Mahomes kind of attitude, and just lack of mechanics and everything else. And but 3rd round, that's where I had him too.
I think we had guys like Hendon Hooker, DTR graded higher. Even Aiden O'Connell showed some flashes at the East-West Shrine Bowl, even though his team lost 10-0 or 10-7 or something, 10-3. It was a very low-scoring Shrine Bowl. But I got to go to Allegiant Stadium and be on the sideline a year before the Super Bowl, so it was fun.
Speaking about evaluations, when I did he's what was I talking about? Go ahead.
I forgot Aiden O'Connell and DTR were part of the 2023 draft class. So that's
on his
started.
That's on his evaluation. I had a 4th round grade on Aiden
and Jake Hainer too.
And so I had him developing into a starting quarterback. And that's exactly what is happening. He's developing. He's a good quarterback. He spreads the ball around good. He's just not overly talented. His feet aren't overly talented. He's a statue back there for what he is. But I mean, I started that freaking baby Favre thing, or the what do you call it? That was crazy.
All right, I got the draft order for. We'll get into some of the games here. I want to finish this rant. So, Will Levis was the 4th QB drafted in 23. Hendon Hooker was 5th. Hooker has not played yet. He was drafted in the 3rd round. Jake Hainer was drafted in the 4th round. He was the 6th QB pick. He started a few games, wasn't that good. Got benched for Rattler. QB7 was Stetson Bennett. He has not started a game. QB8 was Aiden O'Connell. Clay Toon started 1 game against the Browns. He was god-awful, but he never should have been starting as a rookie against that Browns defense. I still think Toon's got a chance on another team, but he's not going to get that opportunity because he got thrown into the fire and was just so
he's a backup
against the Browns. And he is
a backup quarterback, and he has a weak arm. Like, it's
5,
barely 6, manageable.
7, 8. Jaron Hall, 9. So Tanner McKee would be the 10th quarterback of the 14 drafted to start a game in their first 2 years. That gives you enough of a sample size, William, as to what you're getting with that QB class. 10 of the 14 quarterbacks started 1 game that were drafted their first 2 years.
Tanner McKee has an absolute cannon for an arm, though. I mean, oh my God.
Tanner McKee, yeah. So the 4 that didn't start, Hendon Hooker didn't start a game yet. Stetson Bennett didn't start a game yet. Sean Clifford didn't start a game. I think Clifford did come in relief of Jordan Love last year against the Vikings. In the Sunday night game. So he has a few plays of experience as a backup. And the other guy, Max Dugan, who got cut by the Chargers in training.
That guy's terrible.
Max Dugan, TCU QB. So those are the 4 that did not play a down as starters. Those are the 4: Hendon Hooker, Stetson Bennett, Dugan, and Sean Clifford. And Clifford, I was not high on Clifford, but he beat out Levis for the QB job at Penn State, so he got picked in the late rounds. Dugan and Bennett were part of championship teams, and they were at the Senior Bowl, so they got pushed up. They got overdrafted because of where they played and how they played in the playoffs.
Yeah, I had Max Duggan, Sean Clifford. Let's see, who else? What was the other quarterbacks? You just said the last 2. And I had them just completely out, undraftable. They're terrible quarterbacks, and I did
not have a draft grade on Clifford either, William, but he got overdrafted because of Levis.
what's his name? Freaking Stetson Bennett. What was the other one?
Stetson Bennett.
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker also, because of the injury, got drafted.
I had him down to the 4th.
I had a 3rd on Hendon Hooker
until he got hurt, and then I put him down to a 4th. I had the same thing. That's what it was like, dude. But the thing with Hendon Hooker is you can watch his feet, and he'll, as soon as his feet stop moving, he's going to throw the ball. And if he start moving fast, he's going to take off. And if I were a linebacker, defensive end, I would key on that all day long. And it wouldn't be a good day for him, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Because you know exactly what he's doing. And that was the one problem with Hendon Hooker. He was smart, had the IQ, he had the talent, he had a nice touch on his passes, And I want to see him start, and see where he's at.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the games. Boise State, most of these games have been blowouts. And even though I loved watching Ohio State trounce Oregon, I could not say that was a competitive game. It was 31-0 in the second quarter, 34-0 before Oregon scored.
I knew Gabriel couldn't do it, man.
That was a competitive game.
I knew Gabriel couldn't do it, man. And like I said, I've got an undraftable grade on him too. And
I had a 3rd round grade on Dylan Gabriel in the fall, but I mean, he's in I think he's pretty much sealed his fate as a day 3 player with that showing against Ohio State. That was about as bad as Troy Smith's showing against Florida, because Troy Smith, he won the Heisman in 2006. Ohio State was undefeated, and they lost the national title to Florida. I was a sophomore in high school at the time, but yeah. It was 2007. That's basically Dylan Gabriel's game against Ohio State was worse than Troy Smith's game against Florida. And that Florida defense had Derek Harvey. There was some NFL talent on that Florida Gator defense. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Give me 1 second, bro.
Once you come back, we'll break down some games. We'll catch our audience up on some stuff, and then we'll call it a day. I'm gonna get a drink for myself. Maybe a ginger ale or a root beer. I don't know. Maybe I'll mix the two or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get like a ginger ale or root beer and mix the two. I don't know. Wait, I've got 2 glasses. Okay, so I've got.
Oh shit! Sorry about that. I had a visitor, man.
No worries, William. But yeah, as far as the games go, tomorrow I like Notre Dame to beat Georgia. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. I think the Irish are going to pull the upset. But one of the things I said was expect the upsets in round 2 after no upsets in round 1 when there's just home team blowouts. I expected more parity in round 2, and we got it. I'm happy we got it.
I almost started evaluation on what's his name? Quarterback, Riley Leonard. And I literally stopped twice because the film was so boring. I had to watch something more exciting.
I don't blame
I don't know where
I mean, I remember Notre Dame quarterbacks are
I wasn't in the mood.
Bunch. They are a strange bunch. And look, Notre Dame just hasn't had good quarterback play in a long time. When they had a guy that looked like he'd break the trend, whether it be Jimmy Clausen or Deshaun Kaiser, they ended up failing in the NFL. And then
Kaiser was terrible, man. Oh my God.
They both got benched after a year, after their rookie years. Kaiser and Clausen, they both got benched after their rookie years.
Clausen, nobody wanted to work with him. He had a beautiful arm. He had freaking everything that you could ask for a quarterback, but nobody wanted to follow him. He wasn't a leader. He was a cocky, kid that was up there. He got to Carolina, started fighting with Steve Smith like right off, and it was just one of those things. I mean, the kid didn't have the right attitude, but he had everything. He had a golden arm. Beautiful, man. But Kaiser, no, that was yuck.
And then after that, Notre Dame had some other QBs, because I remember the Ian Book interview. Ian Book was at the 2021 Senior Bowl, and he started talking about the playbook and memorizing everything. And he talked about memorizing the playbook and all the intangibles at a supersonic rate. And my friend told me Ian Book's full of crap. And I didn't believe my friend at the time, but I think when we saw him play in the NFL on Monday night, we found out the truth firsthand. I'm not going to say he was or wasn't full of it because he took the time to do an interview with Draft Utopia. So anybody who takes the time to do an interview with us, you will always have a soft spot in our hearts.
Exactly. So. And Ian Book, I liked him, but his footwork, he needed to be watching film of Joe Montana from the 80s. And he needed to learn how to do that. And because otherwise, I mean, like I said, footwork leads to power, accuracy, everything else, and you got to have it. And he just wouldn't move his feet. He would just slow, dragging them. And it's like, dude, come on, man. I like Ian Book. I really do. But
I mean, there were a lot of QBs with high upside in that draft. Lawrence was the main guy, but you had Fields. You had when the 2020 draft ended, I put together my first QB rankings. I had Lawrence at 1, I had Fields at 2, I had Brock Purdy at 3, and I had Trey Lance at 4. And Lance went 3rd overall. Brock Purdy fell to Mr. Irrelevant in the 22 draft, and then he ended up taking the QB 1 job from Trey Lance, which I think is pretty
Brandice is going to come on for a minute.
I had is Brandice here?
Yeah.
Okay. Brandice is here. She can say what she wants to say, and then we'll sign off because we talked about Ohio State. We talked about a lot of things, and then so basically we talked about pretty much everything. I mean, Ohio State beat Oregon 41-21. We also saw Notre Dame. Well, we didn't see Notre Dame. We saw the double overtime game between Texas and Arizona State. That was incredible. And then the Penn State game was kind of meh. But it was a good New Year's Eve game. I mean, Ashton Ginty did run for 100 yards at Penn State, but he had no touchdowns, 2 fumbles, lost one of them.
So, Penn State's tough, man.
Penn State is tough.
Way, way tough. So we'll just go with that. And people are saying it's like, dude.
Singleton and some of these other underclassmen come back. Carter's going pro, but if some of these other underclassmen come back with Aller next year, Penn State could legitimately be the number 1 seed next year. If they can beat Ohio State and Columbus, which I don't think they can do, but if they can actually pull that off, Penn State could legitimately be the number 1 seed next year. They're going to be in the playoff, and they're probably going to be seeded higher than where they are next year. Maybe not in the top 4, but maybe number 5 at the very worst, I would think. They have a lot of talent returning.
She should be on. She said she was.
Okay. I only see 2 people in the camera. Once Brandice comes on, I thought, Gunnar Stockton has a better arm than Carson Beck. I know Joey and we were talking off the air about this, Quinn. Okay, Brandice is here. Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect timing, Brandice. 3 teams are in the Final 4. What do you want to say about this playoff? And Happy New Year.
Can you hear us? I'm not sure she can hear us.
Okay. There's a volume on my thing and a volume on William's thing, but there's not a volume on Brandice's thing. Is the audio turned off on your end, Brandice? Because I see an audio thing next to me and an audio thing next to William. I don't see an audio thing next to you. And that's weird because usually when you come on, I can hear your voice. I can hear your thoughts. And they're very entertaining. They're very articulate thoughts. And it's very fun to engage with you, Brandice. But there is not an audio next to your name and camera. So that's a technical issue on Restream's end unless you have your audio turned off. And you want us to play charades, Brandice. Do you want me and William to try to figure out what you're doing by playing charades? I mean, you might enjoy that. I don't think we would enjoy that, but if it makes you happy, we will cater. Okay, now I see a microphone next to Brandice. You should be working now.
There we go. Can you hear us now? Yeah.
Bingo, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think I need to restart my router.
Oh no. So can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Oh, okay. You can hear us. Well, what did you think of? What did you think of Ohio State? Huh?
So I've been out shopping all day, to be perfectly honest, and came in on those like WTF. Like, I don't know if y'all's brackets is just utterly destroyed like mine is, but like I knew that this year would be a shakeup because of the new system. I knew that this year would be a shakeup because of the new system, but like I was not expecting just carnage. I wasn't expecting just like, like I wasn't expecting that. So
social media is going nuts over it. It's like, what are you guys doing? It's like, I mean, it's crazy. Oh well, this team should be banned from the playoffs, and again, and it was a blowout and everything else. It's like, oh yeah, because there's such a difference between number 1 ranked team and the 15th ranked team in the country.
And a lot of it is biased towards SEC or Big Ten teams. A lot of it is biased because when the group of 5 teams lose and they lose in the margin they lose, people that are fans of SEC teams are going to say, Alabama would not have beaten Penn State. They scored 13 points on Michigan with a healthy Jalen Milroe. So they would not have won in Happy Valley. I don't think they would have won, but they may have kept it to 10 points at the best case scenario. But see, that's why the argument's invalid. Either way you spin it.
I think in one of the first brackets I was thinking about I put Ohio State way up there.
Sorry, there's a delay, so I'm trying to like work it out with you guys. But like, what's insane for me is that like you're seeing the people that didn't make it to the bowls not win their bowl game. Not the people that didn't make it to the playoffs not win their bowl game. You're seeing that, so it's giving you proof that like no, like some of these teams should not have been in the playoffs. Like that's just what it is. Like. I hate that Michigan had a bad season. I don't hate that Alabama did, obviously, because I hate Alabama. But I don't think that, like, I'm wearing green. Like, I genuinely was like, oh, we're good. Like, and now, where are we? Thing, man. Like, what do we do?
I did not like, Dylan Gabriel. I've gotten undrafted grade on him, too. And I suggested that maybe he, switch to slot receiver, to continue his career. And that's just the point, And it's like, because I always go for, the quarterbacks in the coaching most of the time anyway. And that's why, Ewers is up there and he's got some good coaching and such. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's true. But Lanning's a good coach.
He's the best coach in college football right now. And that's just the truth.
Like, what are we saying here?
but Gabriel is
like,
just so.
See what I put in the news ticker with Dan Lanning? I put Ryan Day tore Dan Lanning a new one, and we actually put that in the Under the Bleachers news ticker, 41-21. This is what happens. Oh, no. I get out of control when the Buckeyes win in this fashion. 89-35 is how much Ohio State's outscored their opponents by. 82-35. They scored 41 on Tennessee. I think 41 on Oregon as well. And they gave up 14 to Tennessee and 21 to Oregon.
On one of our first shows, I talked about Ohio State winning the championship. I remember that. And I had it like, talking about it. And it's just, yeah. And
I thought you were insane. I
did. Completely.
The only game I got wrong was Boise over Penn State. That was the only game I got wrong in the bracket so far.
I thought Arizona State could.
I picked Boise to beat Penn State. That's the only.
I picked Arizona State.
You picked Arizona State. That was one upset that I thought could happen, and it almost did. Cam went off, and that dude was just all over.
It was entertaining as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you guys have already talked about Boise State, but like.
Oh, did she fade out? Anyway, yeah. No, but Boise State, so many people were talking about Ashton Genty, and yeah, he sucks now and this and that and everything else. Man, playing,
he had 100 yards on Penn State. If he had under 100 yards, I'd be concerned, but he still did run for 100 yards against a top 5 run defense.
Yeah, he only had 3.5 yards.
Sorry, guys. I really got to restart my router.
I think Cam Tebow may have destroyed your router, Brandice. Cam Tebow, the Arizona State running back. I think he may have ruined your router. I'm kidding, by the way.
I love Cam Scataboo, though. Like, if I got a jersey, it would be a Scataboo jersey, just because his last name is so fun to say. It looks fun to write. Like, I love his cockiness. Like, I love like a very cocky, like, but stands on it type of an athlete. Like, if you want to be Deion Sanders, as long as your stats match, like, I'm not mad,
Right. And that's the thing with him, and man, I want to see where he goes, in the NFL, because they, like I said, they said like 4.6 40, but the dude can outrun people. And, you've seen it repeatedly, and he can catch and he can do all those things. And he's going to be something. And it depends. It depends on the team, too, that he goes to, what kind of rotation he gets in,
and the thing is, with the
Raiders would be awesome.
The thing is, with the 40 times that people don't realize is that football is not track. Like, you don't start at the same place and then everyone knows you are going here. It doesn't work that way. So your straight line speed is important. But the reason that corners are so fast is because a lot of times they see things so late, they have to be able to be fast to catch up with these guys. And they still don't. That's a big deal.
That's that linebacker for the Eagles. What's his name? He was just drafted there like 2 years ago. I can't think of his name, but
Nakobe Dean, is that who?
Yes, him, and he is athletic as hell. He's got the wrong instinct, so I've seen him take a step the wrong way so many times. But he had the athletics to catch up.
Interception against Trevor Lawrence earlier this season, so I do feel like some of his mechanics have been cleaned up. Because remember, his rookie year he dealt with injuries. His second year he was injured most of the year, but he came back for the second half.
Mm-hmm. But
but he's been healthy ever since. So that's the relieving part.
But honestly, like I said,
Oh, I'm sorry, William, go on.
Oh no, I was getting done with my sentence, so your turn.
No, I was just thinking like what I wanted to see in that first round, the quarterfinals. What I wanted to see was, are these teams that got a bye worthy of getting byes? And I think the answer was some of them no. And it's crazy because I don't feel like, by the way, Boise State lost. I do appreciate they were able to somewhat come back, but they got blown out the first half. Like this, no team should be getting blown out in the playoffs. Like these should all be fairly close games, ideally, especially if you're getting blown out and you were the 3. You know what I'm saying? That's not supposed to happen.
I think the teams that have byes, the teams that get byes are going to do more harm than good. Think of it like the MLB playoffs, Brandice. The team in recent years, the teams that have gotten wild cards, except for last year's Yankees-Dodgers World Series, but outside of that, it's been wild card teams that have won the World Series as of late. The Astros in 22, the Texas Rangers in 2023. I think we're going to see that type of format where the teams that get in as wild cards and get hot at the right time of the year are going to be in a more advantageous situation versus a 1 seed or a 2 seed. It's just like the byes. The Braves have been negatively affected by the 1 seed, but they've had success as a 2 seed. It's weird to say that, but yeah, that's the thing I noticed with the MLB playoffs is the teams that go on these runs, they're not necessarily the 1 seed. They're wild cards outside of last year. And then this year, it's been the same thing with the first college football playoff. The teams, in fact, the only team on a bye that hasn't played yet is Georgia, and they might lose tomorrow. So all the teams that got byes lost, which is pretty crazy to reflect on.
Insane. Can I make a prediction that's wild?
We love that.
I actually think we could have a Sun Devils Nittany Lion playoffs. Is that wild?
Well, the Sun Devils lost to Texas, but I think it could be Texas, Penn State, or
I'm sorry. What? I've been out shopping all day. Texas beat them?
Yeah, Texas.
No.
Double overtime.
I don't want Texas in. I don't want any SEC team in but us.
Well, you might get your wish, but you have to play Ohio State and Ryan Day for the title. And this is probably payback for losing to CJ Stroud, beating CJ Stroud. This is going to be payback. I'm kidding.
I don't know, man. You know, we were making those predictions earlier and such, and you know, I said Texas over Ohio State,
Notre Dame at the start of the play. But I think whoever wins the Notre Dame Georgia game tomorrow is losing to Texas.
That game is going to be close, and it's going to be, you know.
And I'm picking Texas 35-34, and the reason's very simple. That game is going to be on my 34th birthday. I was born on my mom's 35th birthday, but I'm turning 34 on Friday, so I'm picking Texas 35, Ohio State 34. Yep.
Nice.
And I get heartbroken on my birthday. That is the prediction I'm going to make. I will get heartbroken by Ryan Day. He will break my heart on my birthday. That is how it will happen.
Hey, if I pick Texas, Texas will lose, bro. That's all I got to say. I hate making predictions. I hate making predictions.
Brandice is hoping Ohio State wins so that Texas is out of the playoff, and I have a happy birthday. Everybody, we both win, even though
Ewers is a better quarterback.
With Quinn Ewers getting eliminated.
He's a better quarterback, so yeah.
He is a better quarterback. I'm not arguing that.
Here's my thing. Like, I have multiple things. One of my big things though is there is still some animosity for me with Sarkisian being a Falcons coach. Like, I know that sounds like, what are you doing? But I don't like what he did while he was here, and I still have like angst towards him because of it, which would allow me to make him want, like, I want him to lose as payback for what he did to us here at the Falcons. That's so wrong.
So it's getting personal now. It's getting personal.
Yes. It's very personal. But also, I have loved Notre Dame since day one. You guys know that. I've sung their praises since day one. I always thought Boise State was overrated because they hadn't played anybody, but what they did to Oregon made us all think they were good enough. What we didn't know is that it's about matchups, and Oregon happened to match up well with them. But what didn't happen is that the Lions completely showed everyone that literally all they had was Genty, and it was embarrassing.
Yeah, and that's one thing, you know, they just had key on him.
14 teams are going to redo the format. SEC and Big 10 are probably each going to get 4. ACC and Big 12 are going to get 2, and then there's going to be 4 at large. There's going to be a group of 5 team that's 11, 12 if there's Notre Dame, and basically 2 at large bids, the highest ranked teams. That's what they're going to do if they go to 14 teams. So
yeah. And
probably the SEC and Big 10 champions would be the only teams with a bye. Everybody else would have to play in the quarterfinals or until they get down to 8 teams. That's probably how it will go down.
I feel like the more teams you have, the more buys you should have. Like, it should always be no more than 4, but they have to keep it at 4 buys. If
they're going to saturate that's the problem, though, Brandice. The SEC and the Big 10 are the 2 power conferences, so they're going to saturate it. So they're the only 2 teams that get that bye, and then everybody else has to play.
But I think if they leave it exactly how they have it and just have a wild card matchup, then those extra 2 teams can just come in as a wild card. Like, why do we have to mess up the bracket as it is right now?
Because they want to add more teams. And if these group of 5 teams win the conference like Boise State, and then they do terrible against a bigger opponent in the playoff, they're reinforcing the argument that it should only be the SEC and the Big 10 champion play that get the buys, and everybody else has to play in the opening round. That's basically what the selection committees are validating by doing that.
Yeah, but it's not validated at all, because what I'm saying is that right now, if the bracket remains how it is, the wild card teams would have been Alabama and maybe Army, or I can't remember who else was kind of
Ole Miss,
in that
South
line.
Carolina.
Clemson, somebody.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
They could have done some damage in the playoffs. They really could have.
South Carolina probably will get in next year with Jackson Dart leaving. That's the reality. South Carolina or LSU. Well, LSU's losing linemen. I think South Carolina does have a shot to get in the playoff next year.
They're a tough team.
Dylan Stewart's going to be a true sophomore, and Sellers is going to be back at QB, and their offensive lines, they're going to have 4 of their 5 starting back on the offensive line. So South Carolina, I do think they make next year's playoff. I want to see a South Carolina versus Colorado game in next year's playoff. I think that would be on my bucket list. South Carolina versus Colorado. Colorado wins because Brandice is going to continue to scowl at me like that if they lose to South Carolina.
No, here's the thing. I like Colorado from just a fan point of view, but I see all of the deficits. I can see it. Like, it's not like with UGA where I see the deficits, but I keep that close to the chest because I don't want anyone to know it. But with Colorado, I don't have a problem talking about it because I don't have any attachment to Colorado. And my issue with Colorado is still coaching. It's coaching. They have too many athletes. They have way too many athletes. Their coaching is problematic on both sides of the ball. The play calling is not great. They are in man in times they shouldn't be in man and not in man when they should be in man. They're not physical enough to me in the secondary. I am a strong avid believer of red zone, like physicality. You have to jam. I understand that a lot of teams are going away from that, but the teams that are still doing it are incredibly effective. So I don't understand.
Colorado's got too many egos. I think that's a lot of the problem. And, last year going from that air raid offense
from Liberty in the portal, and Seaton's going to have another year of experience at left tackle, but they've got to get some more pieces on the offensive line around Seaton and tweak things up on the secondary because they're losing Hunter, they're losing Shiloh Sanders. They've got the talent.
What about losing Dion?
But they're, Big 12 is just kind of wide open. Arizona State is going to be the favorite, I'm guessing, next year, but it's too early to have this conversation. I'm just saying a South Carolina Colorado game would be fun. That would be a lot of fun.
We can predict the future, man. It's like when Brandice asks if she can make a prediction. It's like, man, we love those.
Do it.
We love
do it because I'm still riding for the Lions. So will it be the Lions Ohio State? I don't like that as a matchup. I don't. I think it's boring. I'd rather it be Notre Dame and I think Ohio State.
Notre Dame,
the winner of that Georgia Notre Dame game. I think the Georgia Notre Dame winner is going to beat Penn State in the semis.
Notre Dame,
especially if Carter's out. If Abdul Carter's not back from his injury, I don't think Penn State's got a prayer against either Notre Dame or Georgia. But
Penn State,
Notre Dame, because Notre Dame tackle who took over for Joe Alt tore his Achilles, so they've been playing a backup left tackle all year. So I think Penn State matches up better against Notre Dame versus Georgia, but either way, I think Penn State's run ends in the next round.
Yeah, and Penn State and Notre Dame are similar teams. That is, it's one of those matchups. They got similar quarterbacks. I like Aller more. But it's definitely one of those things. But Georgia is good enough to win.
I do like Aller more, but I like Penn State's run game more.
Yeah.
They got
Nicholas Singleton
and Warren, and they got Julian Fleming, who transferred from Ohio State to Penn State, who people continue to underestimate.
Yeah, and Tyler Warren, could be the MVP of the playoffs. I mean,
he's better than Genty, and how have we not talked about him? Like watching
he does
him,
everything.
Watching him in the tight end rankings on draft,
he does everything.
Tyler Warren's really good, and he's going to probably.
He does
Tyler
everything.
Warren
he is a true wide tight end. Yeah,
he's huge. Like you can't
that
guard
matchup.
that. Like it's impossible. It's impossible. And not only that, but for some reason, I know you guys probably know, Chris, what's Penn State's running back's name?
Nicholas Singleton. He had 1,000 yards as a freshman, kind of cooled off in 23, and then this year sort of went back to his roots in his first half year.
He has potential.
He's very good
to be a back. in the NFL. I'll tell you that. He has potential to be a back in the NFL.
Yeah, but he's good. He's good enough. Yeah. He's good. He's so good. It's making me wonder why he wasn't being talked about earlier, because I feel like I haven't analyzed his stats, but like
Penn State had a really good offensive line last year when he had his down year. They had 2 draftable offensive tackles. I think their only returning lineman's right guard Sal Wormley. I think Wormley's their only returning starter on the offensive line, but
they didn't have much of a passing game last year either.
Yeah, that's true. Aller was still developing as a passer. Because remember, Aller sat behind Sean Franklin. Last year was Aller's first year as a starter. And then this year's been his second season as a starter. Even though he's a true junior, this is his second season as a starting QB.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah,
so, I'm looking just at, the stats for Singleton. I mean, he's got 1,000-yard season. Like, that's not, a drop in the bucket.
2 in 3 years, I think.
Say that again.
2 in 3 years. He had one as a freshman. I think he had another 1,000-yard season this year. Is that okay?
I think that I don't want to take anything away from Genty. I still think he's a very strong back. But can we all at least agree that like maybe there was a little bit of slant on how much yards he was getting, because Boise State literally just gave him the playbook and said, every time there's a back, it's you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would argue that Singleton probably didn't get half as many snaps, but still got half as many yards, right?
Yeah. And I'll say one thing from the film that I watched on Genty and the film that I watched on Omario Hampton. Hampton might be the better pick. And I mean, than Genty. Genty is
Nicholas Singleton had 157 carries, 1,015 yards, 9 touchdowns. I think Genty had around like 224 before the playoff game. And he ran for 87 yards. Only 12 carries, but he ran for 87 yards against Boise. And Genty had 374. So Genty had double the carry, 157.
More than double.
They started loading him up at the end.
So you're talking double and then maybe another third, maybe 2/3. Double.
You're going to have that many. You're going to have that many yards. Like, it's his yards per carry is immaculate, but you're going to have that many more yards it's just muscle memory. And like perfect example, the Falcons have 2 great backs in Bijan Robinson and Taylor Algier. They do not use them enough together at the same time, because if they did, they'd both have more yards. And not only that, but they'd have more yards. Like, they'd have more they'd have more carries and they'd have more yards, meaning the threat of either of them would make people hesitant to blitz. But then also the threat of either of them, it works because Algier's such a great blocking back, but he's also a great dive back. But then you've got Bijan Robinson, who can do a dive, also blocks. It's hard when you have a 2 running back system and they are both equally talented. They didn't have that with Boise State. They only had 1, allegedly. We don't know the other guy. I'm sure he's great, but like, he's not Genty. Singleton had that. So he was able to split yards, still get 1,000 yards. And then when they didn't have to use their 2-guy system, they were like, fuck it, give the ball to him. And the second that they did, you saw, no, he's just as good as Genty. They just hadn't been using him like that.
Yep. And one back that nobody's really mentioning is Taj Brooks. Texas Tech was skimming on the edge of the playoffs until they lost 2 straight. But Taj Brooks is also a franchise back. This draft is loaded with backs.
This draft is loaded. 1 through 7 rounds deep at defensive tackle, defensive end, and running back. That's how deep this draft is. You can get anybody in the 7th. You can get a starting running back in the 7th round of the draft. After Cam Ward, there really isn't a guy I'm comfortable with as a starter. I do think Shadur and Milroe have higher ceilings than Ward, but at the same token, they both feel like boom or bust players. They both feel like boom or busts, and they're just too inconsistent. Whereas Cam Ward's been consistent.
I've watched, 2 years of Cam Ward, and I'm not sure what it is. He doesn't have fire, and
yeah,
he gets
that's
behind.
the thing.
I'm
not really looking at the fire. I'm looking at the progressions. And like you
well,
watch
yeah,
21 and 22 tape, he only made 2 progressions in 21, 3 in 22, and that's really when he began putting 1 step, 2, 3 step, 5 step, 7 step drops. He's always had the arm and the pinpoint accuracy on short, medium, deep throws. Yeah. But you're right, William. Until 23 and 24, he really didn't go through progressions consistently. And
I'm not worried about the progressions. It's like that part of him was fine.
That was the big knock I had on Ward, but he fixed that.
But I've got a late first on him, and that's
I had a late first on him in the fall, but now I have him in the top 5.
Yeah. Well, I know
is he the reason
he's going to go that high.
No, because Miami's defense gave up 42 points to Iowa State.
Yeah.
No one's saying that, but they should, because it's really unfortunate because like everyone is still high on Shedeur, and I get why. But did Shedeur play like lights out football? No, he did not. We have to tell the truth, right?
Shedeur's going to be at the Shrine Bowl. Like Shedeur already confirmed he's going to the East-West Shrine Bowl, but he's probably just going there to practice and to interview with teams because that's what Zay Flowers did. Zay Flowers knew he was going in the first round. He was dealing with an injury the first day, so he didn't practice. He practiced the second day. He did the interview with the media members on the Sunday. And then I think the Thursday night, the game that was at the Shrine Bowl, he suited up, but he didn't play in the game. I'm willing to bet Shedeur does the exact same thing during Shrine Bowl week, Brandice. I could be wrong, but
okay, here's my thing.
Flowers went in the first round. He didn't play in the Shrine Bowl. Now Shedeur's going to be in the Shrine Bowl because Shiloh Sanders is going to the Shrine Bowl, I would think.
My problem with Shedeur is he needs to get away from his dad, and he needs to learn to read a defense from a quarterback's perspective, not a cornerback's perspective. That's what he does, and I caught him doing it because I did that for a while when I was playing safety in high school and couldn't play quarterback. So I was doing it for a while, and I see what he's doing. It's having to peel back layers, and it's taking time, and he gives up sacks and thinks he can run faster than he really can. But he needs to get away from Dion, and I don't know. I mean, that is one thing.
I don't know if it's get away from Dion, or I think the better statement is get to an offensive coach who can use him. Perfect guy. I'll tell you, Sarkisian would work with him better.
Yeah.
Like if Shedeur is a Longhorn, Shedeur is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Another one is what's his name from Buffalo? Or was in Buffalo, Joe Brady. He would be a good one to have Shedeur under, and but he's going to be looking at head coaching job soon. He screwed up in his first time, but then he's a little bit better now and back, and he's climbing up the rankings, and that's the big thing in the NFL now, is hiring a young offensive-minded coach.
He gets the Bills to a Super Bowl. That's the thing. Yeah. He's definitely climbing up the rankings, but I think he's going to wait until he gets Allen to a Super Bowl, and then he's going to take a head coaching job, win or lose.
I think this year could be that year that Buffalo makes it to Super Bowl.
I've got Buffalo making it 3 years from now when Atlanta hosts the Super Bowl. So you'll get to see that, Brandice, and I've got them playing Baker Mayfield. I think we're going to see Allen beat Baker in Atlanta in 3 years, but it's too early.
No, it's not going to be an NFC South team.
It is going to be an NFC South stadium. You're going to be rooting for the Bills. It's going to be an NFC South team. It's going to be Baker, and you're going to be rooting for the Bills. You're going to be
Bucks. You think that we would let the Bucks
body slams on all the Buccaneers merchandise in Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
You think that we would let the Bucks come to our house during the Super Bowl? You think that we would allow that?
Yeah, I mean, if
No,
they
we
win
would
the conference,
not. No,
they
we
are
would not. Why would
invited
you say
into the
that?
stadium. If they win the conference, they get to go to your state. They get to go to your house and play the Super Bowl. Like, they'll lose though. Josh Allen will put a number on Tampa, but they'll make it competitive in the first half. Tampa will. Buffalo.
You haven't liked Baker Mayfield in a while, have you?
But he's gonna get to one at some point. That's the thing. Baker's gonna get to one at some point. If
Allen and Baker were my top 2 quarterbacks in 18. And if you had Baker's heart and Josh Allen's body, oh my God, that would be insane.
And Lamar's athleticism, that's literally the perfect combination.
Ooh. But Josh Allen is athletic as hell for 6'5", bro.
So is Lamar. I guess Lamar's just faster, but Allen can run Allen runs with more explosion, but Lamar runs with more speed. That's what I'll say. Because everybody says Allen's not as fast as Lamar. He runs with more torque, more power, more explosion.
He runs like a tight end.
Exactly.
He runs like a tight end, and Lamar runs like a receiver. He runs like a receiver.
Yeah, that's why they're trying him out as a receiver. It's like, no, come on, man, let him be a quarterback.
Right.
I like that guy too. I mean, he's fun to watch, and he's got that charisma about him. When he talks and stuff, you can see that people just like him, and he lights up a room when he comes in it. So
Lamar.
Yeah, for real.
He seems super likable. Like,
yeah,
I kind of hate that he went so late in the draft because I don't know what was the problem. Like, he seemed like a obvious fit,
mom,
but
I don't know if it was his mom being his agent, him not having an agent, or him going from winning the Heisman to not repeating. He was still a Heisman finalist, even though Baker won it. I mean, so I'm not sure what the issue was.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes they just slip, and watching players, just slip through the cracks, and that's what I've been doing the last few years. Doing these evaluations and seeing
got into Wharton. Josh Rosen, the quarterback from that draft, was a bust. He got into the Wharton School of Business.
Really?
Now that his NFL career is over, I guess he's trying to get his MBA.
Nice.
That's a really good MBA school. That's one of the top.
Yeah. Somebody posted a Twitter picture of Josh Rosen at the Wharton School of Business saying this guy's going to Wharton while these other guys are damaging their brains by playing football, but they're getting paid millions of dollars to put their bodies and their brains on the line.
Yeah. And he was a talented kid. I'm not sure where that all went wrong. But, I mean, I never got a chance to really evaluate him. But, I mean, he looked pretty talented.
He had that big game against Texas A&M where UCLA pulled off like the biggest comeback in college football history.
Yeah. But yeah, so
go Dogs.
I'm gonna briefly mention that, and then we'll sign off because it's 9:45. I want to get the last recap for the NFL up on the site. Sure. It was like
we've had a fun good show.
It was 38-3. It was 38.
I've got about.
It was 38-10 at halftime. Texas A&M led UCLA 38-10 at halftime, and Josh Rosen led UCLA to a 45-44 comeback over Texas A&M with a mind-boggling 491 passing yards in that game. That's why he got so much hype and so much traction, is what he did in that game, in that moment. That pretty much validated why he went in the top 10.
Super quick tangent. Yep. I'm sure you guys have heard about the possibility of Belichick, or I guess he's going to the Tar Heels.
Yeah, he's on the Tar Heels now.
Thoughts? Because I have my opinions on it.
I want to see a North Carolina Boston College ACC championship. Castellano stays at Boston College.
That would be
great.
We
get a Bill O'Brien versus Bill Belichick ACC championship next year.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, not going to happen.
No, Belichick was great because of Brady. We have to start saying the truth. We have to tell the truth.
I like it because now he's just going off and retiring. Going off into the sunset. Doing something fun. College football. It's not a job to him. I'm sure. and he still cares because he's out there making comments on the playoffs and everything else, and doing his thing. He's going to be
Belichick versus Bill O'Brien in the ACC title would be glorious. It's not going to happen, but the fan in me can hope it happens. And if it does happen for some reason, Belichick could just do his podcast with Michael Lombardi and Matt Patricia and Bill O'Brien as a guest at the Bank of America Stadium. They could set up a studio right outside the ACC championship and just do the podcast inside the stadium that week for the NFL.
I'd still rather watch Gronkowski and what's his name, Julius.
Yeah.
Oh man. Or Anyway, I can't think right now. It's getting
it's 9:47. We've started like almost an hour ago, and we are going to sign off pretty soon because I've got one game I got to recap before, and I haven't even set up Week 18 for the NFL yet. That's on Saturday. So
I've got 7 reels here that I have to make that I've got written down. So we're going to have some fun this weekend.
Blue. Come on, Restream. Do not make the screen blue. If the screen's blue, I can't sign off. And if I can't sign off, we are stuck here until the end of time.
Oh, no.
In perpetuity.
Yeah, in perpetuity. So that's kind of why I would like to...
You should have seen it, Brandice. He left me like right when this all started. So I was sitting there, talking to everybody, and he came back on. And I was still trying to talk, and be a host. It was good practice, though. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that sounds fun. When was this?
At the beginning, man.
Beginning of today's show.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I have not gotten any sleep. It's just like my mind is spinning, and so all.
I was playing host for a minute, dude.
I stayed up last night to binge a show on Netflix, so I understand
which one?
Not having sleep.
Which one?
Oh my God. Like The Madness.
I'm probably gonna do that tonight.
And The Ultimatum.
All right.
Totally different.
All right. I copied and pasted the link to Restream. I'm opening up a new window. So you might not see my face or Brandice.
What was the second one?
We're still live.
The Ultimatum.
The Ultimatum. Sweet. Yeah,
The Madness is so good. You have to watch it.
Sweet. I'll do that tonight. That's what I get. I get like Netflix, and I get like Cinemax, and I get like Peacock. And I get Spectrum too, and it's kind of difficult since they put in all these apps. It's crazy trying to pay for everything and still get the movies you want and watch them move around and stuff. Because that's all I do a lot in my spare time because I'm old and boring now.
Yeah, I mean,
young and
most
wild.
of the newer shows. My brother's a TV producer. He does music, not a TV producer, but he does like music compositions for the TV shows that are out on streaming services. And he basically said they're not going to create a new TV show with an A-list actor. Like, here's the thing, 15, 20 years ago when NBC was still in their peak, all their shows, Office, Steve Carell, Chuck, Zachary Levi, Community, Joel McHale, 30 Rock, Tina Fey, the Parks and Rec, Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman is Ron Swanson, Chris Pratt, okay? All of their shows 10, 15 years ago had ascending celebrities that were future A-lists, but not quite established yet. And that's what made their shows successful.
Right.
They're going away from that because it's too costly from a streaming standpoint. So the quality of the show is going to deteriorate, and they're not doing anything to change that.
It's already starting to deteriorate,
dude. That's why we'd rather
dude.
watch older shows on streaming services than newer shows. That's probably what William does. That's what I do. That's what Brandice
I'm not
does.
like that.
You're not?
No, I actually think
have you seen
the opposite is happening. I actually think that now they're using these A-list celebrities in TV shows, which is weird. Like Angela Bassett is one of my favorite actresses, and she's in like multiple television shows, which is weird for me because I'm like, no, you do movies, but like she's on 911 and she's good on it. But it's weird to see her in that space because I'm like, no, you do movies, But they're obviously it's a successful show. And then I think about another show, the Netflix show I was just talking about, The Madness. The lead is Coleman Domingo, who just won an Oscar, I think, for another movie. He was in Color Purple and something else, but like now he's doing TV shows and he's really good in that. So I kind of think that the shows are going in a more cinematic direction, whereas before it was more like we only want like comedians in these roles. And now it's like, no, we're gonna take these drama. Like I think what's her name has a show now. What is her name? Nicole Kidman is in a show on Netflix called The Perfect Couple or something. Like that's crazy. Like all these A-list celebrities are doing Netflix shows.
Yeah, and it's because they get paid per show, you know, and they make a whole lot more money.
There's Amazon Prime, there's Tubi, there's Disney Plus. It's getting to the point where there's so many streaming services. If the NFL said, you know what, we're getting rid of the Super Bowl halftime show, we're just going to air a pilot from each streaming service, they'd split it up. So CBS, they'd air a Paramount Plus show for CBS. Fox, they'd air a pilot on Tubi. Peacock, they'd air a pilot on NBC. And Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, they'd air a pilot for, so they could split it up very easily and it'd be more cost effective. And you could just play the pilot on the big screen if you attend the Super Bowl and everyone else could see the pilot halftime. That's more cost effective and you save more money. I think that's where
I love that idea. Yeah. If they did that, then you could just choose. Like if you were watching the Super Bowl on Netflix and it was like, okay, if you watch the Super Bowl on Netflix, you get a Netflix pilot. If you watch it on CBS, you get a CBS pilot. If you watch it on ESPN, you get an ESPN pilot. You know, like that would be really cool because it's like choose your own Super Bowl.
If Amazon got the Super Bowl, you get an Amazon Prime pilot at halftime.
Yeah. Right.
And then you could air another episode after the game, after like all the parades and stuff. So from a marketing standpoint, it makes total sense.
It's genius.
They're getting, what was I going to say? I totally had a brain fart again. But, Brandice, have you seen Resident Alien?
Who? Resident
Alien?
No.
It's on Netflix. You got to watch that. It's funny as hell. But yeah, no. But there's a lawsuit against what is it, the NFL or whatever, where they're trying to bust it down to where you can buy like, you know, per game and things like that, and it's actually, you know, for what they're planning or trying to do next year. And it'll be, you know, so much cheaper than buying all the different streaming services and such. I heard about that the other day, but nobody's really talking about it, you know, and it's a huge thing because, I mean, the lawsuit's going live. So, I mean, it's got traction.
I like the idea of a la carte because if I only want HBO for the week that they're airing Coachella, like Beyonce concert, I should be able to do that and then just turn it off and not have to pay for the whole month. You know, like that would be nice.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, it's crazy what they did because, you know, you could go back in there and buy a Sunday ticket. You know, I remember that one up. The first time I bought it was maybe like $100, $125, you know. Mm-hmm. Then it was all of a sudden up to $250. And then one year they freaking charged me for it next year. And I didn't even know until like there were 2 games left that they had charged me for it. It was crazy. I had to call them up and freaking talk to like 3 managers and try to get some of my money back. I got some, but not all of it. It was crazy, man. I'm like, what are you people doing? I was like, I never signed up for it. It's like, you did that. It's like, I didn't watch a single game until like 2 weeks left. And it's like, well, I might as well do it now, you know?
That happened to me kind of, but not in that way. Like I signed up for a Sunday ticket, like at the end of the season, like right before playoffs. And it was only like $15. And I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Sunday ticket.
Right.
And then I didn't realize it was going to renew the next year, but I got an email right before and I was like, nope.
Yeah. One of my friends,
my problem is I don't check my email.
One of my friends does have a Sunday ticket, but since I'm on their family plan, I get all the games and I should have to pay a fee. I really should, but because I'm on a friend's family plan for Sunday ticket, I get all the games for free. It's pretty luxurious.
That ain't bad at all, man.
Yeah, I should tell my dad to get it so I can.
Right.
I'm not on my dad's family plan, but I set up him on Google.
No, this is just a Twitter user. This isn't even my brother or my mom.
Oh, see, he won't even have to know.
So the less I say, the better.
Yeah, that's great.
The less I say, the better.
That's
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, what me and my friends do,
and if YouTube's like you got to tell us whose plan you're on. Give my channel ad revenue, we'll talk. You're not going to give my channel ad revenue. We're not talking. This conversation's over. I'm walking out the building. You have the right to restrict revenue, but I have the right to withhold that information. It's,
Chris,
it's a two-way street.
You can't tease me like that, because before the show, you were saying something about singing that song. If Brandice didn't come on or did come on, or she was on and then she was off and then on.
Skatibo your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, merrily, merrily.
It's Scataboo.
He said he was going to sing it.
Scataboo, bow your boat gently down the stream. See, it doesn't even work when you say Scataboo, because
we murder names over
here, man. Rhyme with bow or row.
Whenever I hear Scataboo, I'm like, Scataboo. It's like scat.
The other host I had, man, he got every name right, and we're just over here like murdering them. It's like,
I'm not gonna lie, I study them. Like, I literally practice saying DJ Uyangale for like weeks, and I never had to say his name, and I was sad because I was like, no, I practiced.
I had to type his name like I don't know how many times, and it was like crazy. I finally got it into my spell check on my phone, so I just had to hit it. It was like, oh wow, dude. But he's got some potential in the NFL. But I mean, he's a big dude. He's got experience. He's just not great. He's a little bit slow. He's kind of like Cam Newton light, but he's got backup potential. And people, dog on him for what happened this last season and everything else. But that was just bad Florida State. That was stupid. Anyway, but that's about my evaluation on him. I had a 5th round grade on him, and that's a solid backup. So.
All right. So I'm going to sign off.
All right, guys.
This was fun, but this show's
been
over an hour. And we'll be back next Wednesday, everybody, right before I don't know when, because I think I'm gonna have a birthday dinner either Tuesday or Wednesday, since my mom and I share the same birthday, and we go out to dinner. I don't know. It's usually in the day before we record at night. So but yeah, I might bring some food back. Maybe I'm kidding. I'm not gonna nibble any food during the show, but
hey, you were frying chicken that time, bro. That was killer. You should have seen him frying chicken on the show.
My Albanese gummy bears, so.
Hey, those things are good.
So good.
One place my mom and I like to eat is Red Lobster. How would you guys feel if I just decided to munch on some Cheddar Bay biscuits during next week's show?
No, just record at Red Lobster.
There you go.
Just show the shrimp platter.
Yeah,
I usually get the ultimate feast.
I did that one time. I was filming at the grocery store, and it was because this guy was cooking chicken on there. So I went to the grocery store and didn't line. I'm on the show walking around.
I like Brandice's idea of recording at Red Lobster. I don't think my mom would let me bring the computer to Red Lobster, but I do like your idea a lot, to the point where
just get to the Red Lobster a little early and record right before she gets there.
Yeah, there you go.
That's good.
Munch on some biscuits, man. Tell them you're waiting for your mom.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Or just put your laptop, surround your laptop in baskets of biscuits so she doesn't even notice it's there, and talk to her, but also talk to us about the game and see if she figures it out.
These are great suggestions. I definitely want to run with these suggestions.
Probably better than the happy birthday we're going to sing you next week.
She's like, this is the most interesting birthday I've ever had. I didn't know about football as much. Is she a football fan?
I mean, the birthday sing me couldn't be any. Texas Roadhouse doesn't have Wi-Fi, but they do have killer ribs. I had their slab of ribs. They are very good, but their Wi-Fi here is not very good.
Battery's dead.
Texas Roadhouse, but yeah. We're gonna.
We got one of those here too.
It's 10 p.m. already. I cannot keep Brandice and William up past their bedtimes. That'd be a bad look for me an eyesore for me, but we've had a lot of fun. But we'll preview
I was hacking
the
up green stuff
semifinals
yesterday. So
semifinals. We'll preview the semifinals for both college football games, and maybe we'll throw in some wild card winners. We'll see how we feel. But that is going to do it for this edition. William's got cut up shorts he's got to edit, and Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah. Welcome to 2025. New Year as well, man.
Like I said, New Orleans, we're thinking about you, man. So,
yep.
Just know that.
Shout out to everybody in New Orleans that wanted to watch this game and that was affected by today's events. Hopefully you're safe and in a secure location.